All right, well, we will go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the August 29th, 2025 Volusia Forever committee meeting. This is my first meeting as chair, so bear with me. We miss having Wanda up here. We will do a roll call to start off, and then we'll see if we have any public participation.
Jessica Gao.
Here.
Suzanne Schreiber.
Here.
Kelly Frasca.
Here.
Gerald Fieser. Here. Derek LaMontagne.
Here.
John Macaluso.
Here.
Wanda Van Dam.
Here.
We have a quorum with John Gamble and David Sosa absent at this time.
Perfect, thank you. All right, and do we have anyone interested in public participation this morning? Okay, well then we will go to approval of the June 27th, 2025 meeting minutes. They were in the backup and emailed out. Does anyone have any comments, or will entertain a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes.
All right,
I'll second.
we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, like side. All right, those minutes pass. All right, and then our first item on the agenda today, this was a request by the members, is we will have a presentation on Transform 386 by Donna Butler.
Good morning. My name is Donna Butler. I'm the director of the Office of Recovery and Resiliency, affectionately known in the community as Transform 386. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about buyout versus property acquisition. We just received, so let me back up a little bit. Let me talk to you a little bit about CDBG DR. So you may have heard in the community about community development block grant funds. They are given to communities throughout the country for all types of projects, but they're given on an annual basis. Disaster recovery funds are similar but different, and they are only provided to communities and more recently local governments for recovery after disasters. So the funding source comes from Congress through HUD, and it's supposed to address unmet needs. It's last resort funding, and it's used to address unmet or mitigation needs. And in Volusia County, it's being used for long-term recovery. This includes owner-occupied housing. So we have a very robust homeowner recovery program for folks that had damage to their storms. And then similarly, we also have a community infrastructure and stormwater program. And I'll talk a little bit about both of those. So, well, hang on one second. Let me just run through. This doesn't have some of the history. So we initially, after Hurricane Ian, it took a while before we got funds, but we got $328.9 million. $145 million of that was set aside for homeowner recovery, and an additional $92 million was set aside for infrastructure and mitigation. That $42 million is required to be spent on mitigation projects. The council has, and there were other outlined funds as well in the budget. I don't have that here, but I can send that to you if you're interested. The council since then has asked that we work on slowly moving $50 million from all of the other programs into the infrastructure mitigation bucket. We have moved some. As we come forward with our next round of infrastructure projects, we will move additional. We have to move it in under $20 million increments. So as we have projects that we're recommending to fund and we need those funds in a particular bucket, we will move them. So we had the capacity, and then we had Hurricane Milton, which gave us $130-something million. And we had the capacity in what's called the action plan, which lays out how you spend your money in your particular jurisdiction to have a buyout program, but we did not develop it under Hurricane Ian. We have now developed it under Hurricane Milton, and we are doing what's called a substantial amendment to Hurricane Ian to be able to spend the money the same way that we've proposed in Hurricane Milton, which has already been approved. That action plan has been approved using Hurricane Ian dollars. So we will have a very robust buyout program. Okay, I've done this before. Okay, so what is buyout? So buyout is a pathway to purchase eligible homeowner property. It has to have two things. It must be in a 100-year floodplain or disaster risk reduction area, DRRA. HUD and county staff love acronyms. It's hard for me to remember that, but it's disaster risk reduction area. We have to take data. Growth management actually collects that data, and on repetitive flooding loss, if we want to create a disaster risk reduction area. So we've told the cities if they want to identify a disaster risk reduction area in their community, they need to use data to propose that. They can't just say, oh, this little area looks great. They have to actually use that data. And we have that data in a GIS type database, so it's easy for them to do. So currently, we don't have any, so it's just the 100-year floodplain. As we know, that's not exactly accurate as to where repetitive flooding loss may occur, so I hope that we are going to have disaster risk reduction areas. After we purchase the properties, they'll be cleared of the structure and any impervious areas, and then transferred to the appropriate jurisdiction. So we have already required cities, if they wish their citizens to be able to have a buyout, to have a resolution passed by their city commission saying, hey, we are interested in this program, we're willing to partner with the county, and we authorize our city manager to review each parcel and decide whether or not we're going to take it. It may not be in the best interest of the city to take it. It is, they only can use it for two purposes, which is green space or stormwater. We're not allowing parks to be built on top of a area that's flooded, because then that park is going to flood and make it not usable. It doesn't seem like the best use of our funds. We don't want a patchwork approach to buyout, but we may not have a choice. We've got some folks that are just, no matter what's going to happen, unless they raise their home 8 to 10 feet, that property is always going to flood. And even if their home doesn't flood because it's been raised, their property itself will flood. So that's the point of the buyout program. So what is property acquisition? So we have as I was talking about, a infrastructure mitigation program. Let me go back. So if a citizen wants to apply for buyout, they have to go through our homeowner recovery application process. This does not involve the city until we determine that they're income qualified. They have to meet 0 to 80% of low to moderate income levels, which is challenging, but they have to meet that level in order to move forward. And there are 5 different pathways. So the first sentence there says buyout is a pathway. So the first one is rehab. So if your home is damaged, we can come in and provide rehabilitation services given certain guidelines. If it's in a 100-year floodplain and there's over 50% of the value of the home that's damaged, we have to reconstruct that home and elevate it 2 feet above base flood elevation so that the home itself does not flood in the future. And we have done that multiple times already. So there's rehab, there's reconstruction, which I just explained. There's replacement, which is if you have a mobile home that is also severely damaged, we would replace it. And then we have the buyout, and we also have match available. We did not have that before, and it's something that we knew that we needed to do, but we didn't have it in our action plan. We weren't, you learn as you go sometimes. So HMGP, Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, I don't know if you're familiar with that, is a FEMA-sponsored program that comes down through the state to local governments. And there have been homeowners that have partnered with cities to apply for hazard mitigation to either elevate their home or to buy out their home. If you're getting your home elevated, you're required to put in 25%. We're providing match to a gentleman in Deltona. Our match is $90,000. Elevating his home was $360,000. Not many people have $90,000 sitting around, especially if they're low to moderate income. So if they apply through our program and they know that they're going to get this match, or even if they think they're going to get the 75% from the state under HMGP, we can provide that match. This gentleman gets to keep his home that he has had for 30 years, that he's made into his own personal castle, and he now gets to keep that. Will his property still flood? Most likely, but at least his home will not. So there's for HMGP, and then also under the new program that the state of Florida just put out, Elevate Florida. Unfortunately, only 16 homeowners received benefit from the Elevate Florida program that just was funded. So if any of those are low to moderate income and we can help, we will. So, all right. That's 16 in Volusia out of the 477 that applied.
Your mic is on.
I'm sorry?
You didn't have your mic. You didn't have your mic
I
on.
hit the button, but I guess I didn't push it hard enough. I was trying to ask,
I don't know
was
how
that
many
16 in
statewide-
Volusia County?
I know how many in Volusia County applied is approximately 477,
Okay,
and
thank
only 16 were provided funds. And our HMGP committee provided funds to the pot to be specifically used in Volusia County, and we still only got 16. So, all right, so buyout. Now going to property acquisition. The homeowners do not apply here. This is for an infrastructure project that a city or county may be applying for. They would go to the homeowner, make sure that they are a willing seller, because you have to be a willing seller. We will not take someone's home against their will. So an infrastructure project may require the acquisition of property in order to complete a stormwater mitigation project. We already had in our first round, South Daytona has 2 projects that propose property acquisition. They do not require homeowner recovery eligibility, so if they're low to moderate income, they can get benefits for that, but they don't have to. So like homeowner buyout, the county will acquire the property, and after the infrastructure project is complete, the property will be deeded to the city or other entity. So in our infrastructure projects, we take on all of the design and construction and essentially risk, because we did not want to have agreements with them to do the work, because we are ultimately liable for how the funds are expended. Every time they apply, the project is immediately federalized, meaning no work can be done. No conversations about acquisition of property can be done. I cannot have a conversation with anyone until we're ready to move forward. I can have a conversation, hey, are you interested in selling your property? This is what the process might look like, but I can't discuss money, because that creates what's known as a choice limiting action. So this kind of gives you a picture here of what's the difference. In both cases, you have to be a willing seller. On the buyout side, must meet LMI, structure type, ownership, and residency requirements. I didn't talk about that initially, but you have to have owned your home at the time of the storm, and you have to have been, oh gosh, I just forgot the word, homesteaded. Sorry, you have to have been homesteaded at the time. It cannot be a second home to qualify under buyout. It could qualify under property acquisition that way, but not under buyout. And then we do appraisals, and we purchase. The buyout is based on the pre-storm fair market value. So, oh, my home's damaged now, I'm not going to get a good price for it. No, we have the appraisals done at the pre-storm fair market value. Now, it sounds crazy, but some people have gone back in and fixed up their homes, or just because of the market in general, the property value has gone up. If they're low to moderate income, we have incentives that allow them to gain that difference, so they're not hurt by that. And then under property acquisition, it has to be part of a Transform 386 approved infrastructure project. And it must be based on current fair market value. So we're not going pre-storm there. It is current fair market value. So again, here's all the different options. The cities have to have a resolution confirming their willingness to partner. And just because someone wants a buyout doesn't mean they're going to get one. If that's not the best thing for the program and or the city, it's not going to go forward. They'll have other options they could choose from, but there's no guarantee. And why is that? Well, we currently have $20 million set aside for buyout, and with a maximum cap of $400,000, that would mean 50 homes could move forward. It's not a lot. So we'll do a damage assessment. We have to do an environmental review. We'll do an appraisal. We've got our procurement out right now for appraisal services and title services. So then we provide a written offer, and if they accept, then we would schedule a closing. They would move out, and we would clear the property and provide it to the city or other jurisdiction. It could be a state agency as well. Property acquisition, They have to make an infrastructure application during the grant opening period. We just closed one. We're closing it today. And then we'll take those applications hopefully in October if all goes well, if we can get them cleaned up. We work really hard to help our cities have successful applications. It's not an easy process. There are certain things in our application that HUD requires that cities aren't necessarily accustomed to applying for, especially a cost-benefit analysis, which requires a cost-benefit ratio to be put in. So we actually have a consulting firm that we hired that helps each of them complete that so that they're not in jeopardy that way. Again, the applications are federalized. This is a little challenging for some folks to understand that they cannot engage in any conversation. They can't do any work on the project. Whatever their application says, it has to pause at that time. And then if awarded by the county council, the county will conduct all acquisition, including negotiation of the purchase price. So that's the last slide. Any questions?
Fantastic. Yep. Any questions for Donna? Sure, we'll start on the end.
I have a question.
Sure.
You said that it's only for properties that are not in a current 100-year floodplain, correct?
No, only for properties that are in a 100-year floodplain.
that are in a 100-year floodplain. Okay,
Correct.
I'm sorry, misspoke. So I've seen several cases now in Volusia County where you're not in a floodplain, but a development goes in nearby that raises the elevation quite a bit and now creates flooding down river. And so you do get flooding, you're not in a 100-year floodplain. What happens to those parcels? They're no longer eligible for any kind of help?
So on this slide right here, must be in a 100-year floodplain and or disaster risk reduction area. I don't know anything about growth management. I'll never claim to be an expert in that. So if you want to talk to the new growth management director as soon as he gets in here, you can do that.
Well,
However,
but wouldn't that be good for staff to have these conversations with each other where one knows what the other was
Mr.
doing?
Fieser, it's not my role, but the disaster risk reduction areas, if a community identifies that repetitive flooding loss has occurred in residential areas, they can identify that on GIS and the homeowners can apply. That's what this says right here.
Outside of the 100-year.
We have to create a disaster risk reduction area in order for those homeowners to be eligible. And we will be working with Growth Management's office to do that. But I can't answer Public Works and Growth Management.
I'm not asking you to answer anything about that. I'm just saying as a point of discussion that we're spending millions and millions of dollars that our grandkids are going to have to pay back. Let's try to be a little more preventive in some of our land development regulations. I know that's not your field, but hopefully if we run it up the flagpole far enough, someone will say, hey, maybe we ought to stop creating these new disaster areas because years ago none of this flooded, but now because we're not one, but two or three, and as they all start building themselves up, and very few of those ever flood, I get it, but that water's got to go somewhere where it didn't used to have to go before, and we're seeing it all over the county where we're getting new flooding areas. And it just, before we start bending, millions and millions of dollars, we should be, as a county, coming up with some preventions so this really doesn't happen as we continue to grow. That's just my soapbox story.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Other questions? I think, Derek, you had one.
Yes, a couple definitions if you can help me with. So I think first basic one, earlier on, it said about this is used for mitigation. So I was wondering if you can kind of determine if infrastructure mitigation, what qualifies as that? If it's just, again.
So mitigation has to prevent flooding or other damage from future storms. That is the purpose that's identified. Infrastructure does not have to. So I wish I had my full presentation. So infrastructure has to tie back to the storm that was identified. So either Hurricane Ian or Hurricane Milton. Mitigation does not have to tie back to a storm, but can mitigate against future damage.
So in that case for infrastructure, I mean, would that count as hey, we want to build a new bridge or something? That's not qualifying, right? I'm just checking.
No,
okay.
It's not. Only if it's
Not any infrastructure.
if the road per se that you want to then lift into a bridge. So if there's an existing road that's constantly flooded and you need to build the bridge so that that road is not flooded and it can continue to be used as a road, as a traffic byway, then that, and it flooded due to the hurricane, that is an valid infrastructure project.
Okay, another definition question, sorry. Just,
That's okay.
and I know there's probably multiple ones for what green space is. Maybe cities, counties might define it differently, but for this program, or the couple of things, can you explain? So I know you said it can't be a park because it would flood and people wouldn't use it as such, but so you're saying it can be just conservation area then? And
Correct. Just basic green space. We're not putting limitations on what green space is, but we're not, they have to provide a open space management plan on how they're going to use that parcel. And we've said that the only thing that could be used for is green space or stormwater infrastructure.
Right.
It just seems kind of inappropriate to allow additional development. First of all, they can't ever put another home on it, but any kind of development on a space other than stormwater, especially when there's resounding concerns in the community over and over again about flooding. So we want, because the green space can mitigate against flooding. So whether it's an actual stormwater infrastructure that's built, swales or something else, or a stormwater pond, if the property is big enough, that's fine. But it can also just be green space, because the removal of the impervious surface allows more space for water to percolate down.
Right. I just think I've seen before green space or like ball fields be considered green space.
No,
like,
it's
and
not.
so I'm just making sure under this you're not considering that.
No.
Okay. And then I hope this is my last question about how perhaps nonprofits could help at all with this. I think it said sometimes cities or the county will, or federal ownership will be the final maintenance. And so again, if we're going to convert this into green space, is there a role for nonprofits or other community groups that aren't a government entity?
So you're talking about under property acquisition?
I think, yeah, because it said at some
Property
point.
acquisition is only for infrastructure projects. So a nonprofit would have to apply for an infrastructure project in order to acquire property.
I guess I meant when you said like a city has to want to help with maybe it was the first
Under
one, but-
buyout?
Yeah, under buyout, because I think so if a city is overcommitted to other things, but you said in perpetuity, I think some of these have to be maintained. So can there be some way for that role of maintaining it, or just making sure it's natural, be partnered with these
Not
nonprofits?
at this time.
Okay.
But they can apply for an infrastructure project under property acquisition.
Yeah.
I
Again,
mean, a property acquisition under an infrastructure project.
yeah. I wasn't thinking of applying. I was thinking about just helping the cities or counties or federal.
They would have
governments.
to go to the city and offer those services. That's not something that we're going to get in the middle of. So our relationship is with the city or state, and making sure that they are agreeing to maintain it for forever and not redevelop it.
Thank you.
Suzanne?
So I have a question. With the plan that they have to present or turn in for perpetuity,
For the green space, open space management plan?
correct?
Yep.
They turn that in to you, or?
Sure.
The
So
program?
it's really basic. We agree that we will either maintain it as green space or we will make stormwater improvements. It's not going to be a complicated multi-page plan. This is basic. If a city has completed their resolution in front of their city commissions and provided that to us, as buyout opportunities come available, we will communicate with the city manager or their designee and say, do you want this property? If they say yes, they will provide us a document telling us how they plan to manage that piece of property. We will maintain it as green space. We will maintain it as, stormwater improvement. Here's what we're going to do. If they want to modify that later, they can, but there are only two options. So it's not a complicated plan, but that is a HUD requirement that they have some sort of an open space management. We're making it super simple because we don't want to burden anyone with something complicated.
Wanda?
Thank you. Obviously, this isn't a straightforward program, so I'm
Right.
glad that we have you in charge of this. But my question is, I understand the buyout for homes. I'm interested in unincorporated Volusia County vacant land. Does the county have a disaster risk reduction area? I wasn't sure if you said.
There are none yet.
Okay.
If you would like to propose one, you guys absolutely could propose them. We could look at the data with growth management, and you could propose that certain areas be included, and we'll post them on our website, and then they would be eligible for either homeowners or, now, you're referring to acquisition of property not owned by a homeowner.
Correct, yes.
Okay, then it would need to go through the infrastructure program, and the DRR, disaster risk reduction area, doesn't have to apply.
Okay, so the homeowner would need to do what? I'm sorry.
So if it's.
I'm sorry, not
yeah.
homeowner, property owner.
Okay, so the property owner cannot apply. There has to be a proposed infrastructure project. And they have to go through the application process. The next one will open up sometime, I believe, in the fall, unless council tells us to wait. We've got 30 stormwater plans out on the street, almost all of them in progress, and those are lengthy processes. So unless somebody has something kind of shovel ready for this next round, I'm not sure if they do. Some may and some may not. But it would have to be some sort of an infrastructure project that's proposed that would need to acquire property. For
Okay.
example, I'll give you an example of one. It's in a city. The city of Daytona Beach came to us, and the Midtown community floods regularly. It is, the whole area is in a bowl. And there's a street called Cottle Circle. It's a U shape, and it backs up to now a brand new school. But even before the school, Hurricane Ian hit, the whole area was flooded. And then there's also another street that comes off of that. All 40 homes flooded. And the city would have liked to propose a property acquisition, a infrastructure program. They have a huge pond. There's 2 neighboring ponds that are quite large. And then there's the school, which when the school was built, they put it up on a hill. So every time it rains, it runs back down into Cottle Circle. So you got the, excuse the pun, perfect storm of flooding problems. So we know that there are some folks in that area that qualify for buyout, which again, they have to meet the 0 to 80% AMI. But they also want to spend some stormwater funds, and we know that not everyone's going to qualify. So we're going to have a community meeting and talk about what we can do there, whether it's a combination of buyout and property acquisition. Those are the type of projects that we're looking to fund. Now, we've got 2 cities that have proposed purchasing property in anticipation of stormwater projects. They have to lay out what that stormwater project is, because we have to do what's called a cost-benefit analysis. And it's one of those complicated FEMA things, so complicated that we're hiring a consultant to help our cities do it. But it looks at all of the damage that could be prevented by making this improvement and coming up with a ratio. And they have to have at least a 1. So just acquiring property isn't enough. But if you're acquiring this property to put some sort of a stormwater something, and it doesn't have to be a complicated something, but if you're acquiring this property so that 50 homes with an XYZ value no longer flood, that's a great project. So we can't just purchase it because this land floods. What are we going to do when we purchase this land to stop these homes from flooding? Just purchasing it isn't enough, right? Just because we acquire this vacant land doesn't mean it's not going to no longer flood. Is the fact that there's no stormwater solution there causing all these homes or this whole area to flood? That's what we have to figure out how to fix. And we've told all the cities, and the county knows as well, that we want to sit down. We're meeting with Ormond today to talk through their proposed projects. We've set up meetings with other cities. And again, Public Works Director is my partner in this, because I'm not a Public Works or growth management person. I'm a great grant manager, not so much on the other. Amazed how much I've learned about, and just because we dig a hole doesn't mean it's going to be good enough. So what solution can we bring to the table that we would fund in partnership with the county or the cities? Because they have to bring money to the table too. Because we have limited resources. It sounds like when you say that we have almost $500 million, it's a lot. Well, it's going away pretty quick. We've already committed $62 million on our side in the first round. We've got that much in requests for the second round. Not sure that they're all going to move forward. And then we haven't even gone to a third round yet after stormwater studies are completed. Does that help?
It does. I was thinking along the lines of what Mr. Feaser brought up, that we keep putting money into mitigation, into after the fact,
Sure.
instead of prevention. And so my question was, on vacant property, how can this program be used to keep the surrounding area, even if there's homes on it at this time? How can people in unincorporated Volusia County bring forth their property in an area that's known to flood and have it considered for this?
So they could, so if it regularly floods, I would suggest that they reach out to the Public Works Department and suggest that they would be a willing seller if the county's interested in a stormwater solution on their property.
Okay, that helps. Thank you.
That's all I can think of. You don't have to have a disaster risk reduction area for a property acquisition. You do for buyout, but not property acquisition. So,
Got it. Okay.
but there's probably data because they've got maps that constantly show all the flooding that's occurring, and but the county would need to be able to propose a project that they could afford. I mean, they've already got one proposed in this process for Taylor Road that's $12 million.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Donna, of the 16 jurisdictions, how many have adopted the resolution?
At least half.
Okay.
And some of them are, we're still in August. Some of them have been working on getting them on the agenda. Some agenda processes take longer than others. So I would say at least half, probably more.
Great. For those that have not, if anyone wants to bug them in their individual capacity, then make sure that gets done.
Yeah, if you want to know if your city has, you can shoot me an email. It's ddbutler@volusia.org, and I'll be happy to give you the list of who has. It'll be on our website. And if you want to learn more about the program as a whole, please go to transform386.org. I think that's what it is. It's a really great website. Our team has put it together, and you can see our action plans. You can see our progress that's been made. The real joy at this point is the work that we've done for homeowners, and you'll see videos of homeowners that we've helped. We had a couple that retired down to their dream home. It was a very small home from up north, and they were here, and several months later, Hurricane Ian came and destroyed their home. And so they were our first complete reconstruction. And you'll see Mrs. Laliberte talking about the fact that she had always wanted a window over her sink, and this is the first time she'd had a pantry. And this is a tiny house. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath home, and she is over the moon excited about this home. So for all of the concerns that you'll hear out there, we are helping people. We have completed 50. We are on target to complete at least 50. We're hoping for a total of 120 by the end of the year, and that's just in the construction side. We ran the data, and we've actually provided more reimbursements to folks, because that's another pathway. If you've done the work yourself prior to applying and you qualify on income level, we can help reimburse you for those expenses, and we figure out what that's worth through a damage assessment. So it's exciting, but we also know that folks are going to continue to flood if we don't fix some of these infrastructure flooding problems. So we're doing our best to do that. Cities need to come with good projects, though.
All right. Any other questions?
So from what Wanda asked you, am I correctly that only cities or the county can bring forward these infrastructure projects ultimately?
We've had infrastructure projects come through from nonprofits, but it's to fix damage occurred by hurricanes. So we had 3 projects that were funded in the first round of applications from 3 nonprofits that had damage to their structures during Hurricane Ian. We have 1 or 2 more that are coming this cycle, coming through. One that received significant damage. They're pretty close to beachside, and received significant damage to their roof. So they've proposed for that to be replaced. Generally speaking, nonprofits have a harder time through the process because it's very challenging for them. Not all of the questions on the application process are for the nonprofits, because they some of the questions are, what level of mitigation essentially are you building towards? If you're currently at I have a lot of risk, are you moving to the 24-hour, 25-year storm, or 24-hour to 100-year storm or above that? So, and each of those levels gets more points. It's not relevant for a nonprofit that needs their building fixed so that they can serve their clients. The cost benefit analysis is totally different for the clients. So there's a whole different category of types of questions that a nonprofit has to. So generally speaking, we have to be fixing something on an infrastructure project that's related to storm damage. Mitigation, a nonprofit could say, hey, I want to mitigate against future storms, but I'm not sure what type of nonprofit would apply for a mitigation grant. If a nonprofit's interested, they can reach out and I can meet with them, but they would have to have, a lot of ducks in a row and without any chickens or other birds trying to get in their lane.
I was more curious about agencies like FDOT or FDEP or.
Those are state agencies.
Sabrina Slack, Assistant County Attorney, just to kind of get us back. You guys remember, this is a federal program through the Housing and Urban Development property. So Federal Register, lots of guidelines. It's a federal program directed at housing and urban development. So there's a lot of rules and regulations, how to apply, what to do, and it's also the DR stands for disaster relief. So what you're looking at is a program with program dollars that is geared toward the goals of housing and urban development, a community development block grant. So you have to keep that in mind with this program. These dollars are federally regulated dollars. This program is audited by the federal government. So everything that we do has to be in line with what they dictate that we do with these dollars. And then we try to use these dollars with that federal mandate. So these dollars aren't for us to decide what to do with. These dollars are funneled to us from the federal government with this program and with this program's directives. So that's the lens you have to look at these dollars with.
So in terms of partnering with state agencies, the cities could come to us with match that they received from
And that's why I was asking.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's how the state dollars can come into play, but the state can apply to us.
Perfect. All right. Any other questions for Donna? Okay. All right.
Thank you very much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. And the website is very comprehensive and great. You should spend some time poking around if you guys haven't. All right. That brings us into new business, although it will look very familiar in terms of the site. So we'll turn it over to staff.
Good morning, Tim Telfer with the Volusia Forever program. So we're having a application come back to you. This is one that you viewed as a fee simple application in the past. You did not determine it's eligible for fee simple acquisition, but I asked staff to contact the owners about less than fee or an easement on the property. And as such, you are now reviewing this as an easement property. Next slide, please. Okay, locational slide. There we go. So again, this is a conservation easement. The property is called Turnbull Bay. Staff scored it 6 out of 21. The minimal eligibility is 7 out of 21, 23 acres in size. It's not within an acquisition target area, but it is adjacent to the conservation property known as Doris Leeper Spruce Creek Preserve. With that said, I believe that there is a representative of the property in the audience. If you have any direct questions for them, and in addition, staff stands by for any of your questions. Thank you.
Would the property owner, do you wish to present or? Oh, okay, perfect. Noted. Okay. Do we have any questions for staff on this item? All right. Any discussion? Yep. Go ahead, Derek.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if it's just questions, just comments that I supported this previously, and I think it's a good idea to have this land hopefully added to the Doris Leeper Spruce Creek Preserve. We are that preserve is not complete. It never got all the acquisitions in other areas, and it may never get other parcels that it was originally envisioned with, including down where they're kind of building on land that was actually marked as essential parcel at one point for door sleeper, where the Pioneer Trail interchange is proposed to be built. So I do support this. I don't want to go through and question, all the different bullet points on how staff scored it. I think just by its proximity and its ability to at least be accessed, or at least adjacent to the preserve, of course, makes it, able to be more added into our management than if it's just like a little isolated property. I understand if we don't want to get that, but yeah, that area is facing a lot of environmental problems. I think it should be protected, and I think this is a good way to do it. And considering they were kind enough to come back, not as fee simple, I think we deserve to at least move it forward, and see if it can be added to the list. If not A, B, but again, I think the door sleeper preserve is like the most important to me preserved area we have, and it needs all the help it can get for biodiversity and so forth. And I'm willing myself to go out and pull some weeds if needed. So that's all I have to say. So thank you.
Just for the record, I also supported this and again, echo some of Derek's sentiments there. Based it on the proximity to the preserve. There's no question in my mind on that one. So I will support this in the future.
All right, any questions or comments, or Suzanne?
So I have a question. On item 13, does the property contain high-functioning or potentially high-functioning wetland ecosystems? And it says no. Can you elaborate, since I believe it is wetland?
Hi, Hunter Farmer, Chief of Land Management. I believe this was discussed last time we were ranking this. The reason for this is the mosquito ditching that's in the mangroves, and that by our assessment and other staff, that removes the high functioning, wetland category right here.
All right. Seeing no other questions or discussion, we will entertain a motion.
I'll motion to make it eligible.
We have a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of eligibility say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, we have one opposed, and that will be found eligible, which will turn this meeting into a bit of a hybrid, because we will then move on to ranking it, and I believe staff has requested we take a 10-minute recess before we go to ranking. Okay, so we will recess for 10 minutes. All right, we're getting new information. That because the property owner is not present, do we need to notify them of eligibility before we move on to ranking?
Okay, so I believe there is a property owner's representative in the audience, and we had a representative for him. No? Oh, I'm sorry. I had assumed that this was a representative for Turnbull.
So I had discussion earlier in the week that Turnbull Bay was going to have a representative here, which I did speak to this gentleman. He is just listening. He is just here for the audience to watch the meeting. So obviously the representative did not attend this meeting, so we cannot rank it at this time. It would be put on to the next meeting.
Yeah, apologies. That was new information to me, so apologize. So
it just came.
Yes.
Hot off the press.
So we no longer need a recess.
Okay, and we will not be ranking. So item B will move to our next meeting, and this will come back. So then we will move into staff comments, but I will ask for a 30-second recess. I just didn't get the calendar printout if you have an extra. Perfect. All right, then we will go into staff comments.
Okay. Tim Telfer again, Volusia Forever program. So here's an update on our major actions since we've last spoken. And I want to kind of put these in context too. Last meeting, we discussed the Florida Forever budget and the FDAX budget, and those decisions by the legislature obviously reverberate through the conservation community, and it makes it much more competitive to bring in our partner dollars, not just with DEP, but with other partner organizations, because we all pivot to any partner that we can find when we're facing a reduction. So with that said, the first one I'll update you on is Triple T Ranch. This is an agricultural easement. We are now through negotiating easement terms with the owner. He's delivering that draft conservation easement to his attorney. When we get comments back from the attorney, we'll finalize that and complete the appraisal process, go through the offer stage, and move to acquisition on that easement property. The second one to update you on is the McMillan property. So west side of Lake Ashby here. McMillan is, it does have a verbal commitment from the St. Johns River Water Management District for a partnership. This is something that has kind of paused staff as we've kind of pivoted and looked around for a partner to bring this one forward. We believe we have that partner now. It's a matter of incorporating their requirements into the easement and purchase agreement documents, having them reviewed by the owner again. We'll need to get new signatures, and then we'll cycle back to the County Council with those documents. The third one I'll bring up is Double Eagle. Double Eagle is a large agricultural easement in southern Volusia County. You see it on your screen there. So we are partners with Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services as a proposed 50-50 split. We have all easement terms agreed to. We are working with the FDAX closing staff right now on the final survey. There is a targeted closing date of September 11th. We're optimistic we can keep that date intact. Next project is the Talmadge project. So we continue to work through this project. We are drafting contracts now for fee simple acquisition of this piece, and hope to have those documents ready for release to the owners within the next 2 weeks. Trying to move that forward to County Council shortly after that. Third one I'm going to bring up is Tomoka Farms Road. Pardon me, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fifth one I'm going to bring up. Okay, so Tomoka Farms Road is a project where we are trying to work on a boundary amendment with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. The boundary amendment would expand the Volusia Conservation Corridor out to cover a portion of this property. We have a limitation. We can't have 100% of the property within the Volusia Conservation Corridor because the state has a $5 million cap on their boundary amendments. So that's kind of our governor on this one, but we'll be able to get the western and central piece in, assuming it's approved by the Acquisition and Restoration Council. Volusia would buy the eastern portion of the property. We go in front of the Acquisition and Restoration Council on October 12th to present this plan. The next one is Lake Harney. Large, undeveloped tract in southern Volusia County. There you see it on your screen. This one is fairly complex for us to put together, but we've got some good momentum right now, both on the partnership side and on the acquisition side. So for partners, we've been in contact. We tried to remain in contact with DEP, their Florida Forever staff, to just acknowledge progress on these projects and let them know that we do want to tap into their acquisition dollars for all of these eligible properties. This is a balancing act. You know, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of competition for these dollars, and this is a large project. But right now, we have that verbal commitment intact. The DEP would buy the western half. Volusia County would buy the eastern half. There are also 2 partners that could potentially come in on the county side to reduce our basis in this acquisition. But we did, last Thursday, we did conduct an appraisal tour. So we are getting the appraisal process started, and we'll move to the offer stage as soon as possible after that. Next one is Caraway Lake. There it is. So Carraway Lake is started out as a agricultural easement, but because of some of these funding constraints that I've referenced, it's now working through the Florida Department of Environmental Protection as a conservation easement. So there's a lot of back and forth with that abrupt of a change. When you go from agriculture to a standard conservation easement, there's a lot, there is much less permissive language in the document itself. So there's a bit of back and forth between the owner's representatives and DEP's staff who represent the requirements of the Florida Forever program. We don't think that they're impassable at all. We think they can all be worked out. It'll take a little bit of time and discussion. At the same time that those discussions are going on, we've started the appraisal process. We've conducted a property tour with the appraisals. As soon as those easement terms are finalized, they get turned over to the appraiser. That's where we get our value. We'll sit down and talk with DEP staff about offers and hopefully move this project forward very soon. Next one is John Anderson Drive. It's a 14-acre piece up near the Loop. There was an appraisal tour conducted yesterday. So we're working forward towards an offer on this one. This is also something that we had moved through the Acquisition and Restoration Council. Again, there's a lot of competition for remaining Florida Forever dollars. We hope to bring them in, if not as a partner, to have them pay 100% of this piece. But there's a lot of moving pieces before we get to the finish line on it. So again, we remain in communication. We're working on those appraisals right now. Once they come in, we sit down with their staff and discuss funds availability and any offers that we can rely on them for. The last update I'm going to put in front of you is the Lafise property. Another agricultural easement. We've gone back and forth on terms and mapping on this property here, and we have our significant natural areas map completed with a number of cutout areas on it at the request of the family, the owners. We are ready to initiate the appraisal process. What we need to do is iron out the remaining easement terms. There's been a bit of back and forth on easement language. Hopefully we get that resolved through soon. They're going to have a family meeting in the next 2 to 3 weeks to discuss both the mapping and the easement document. And we're hoping for a positive outcome in that family meeting. And hopefully we can bring this one forward to the county council soon. So I've got a couple other items I'm going to touch on, but I just want to, at the end of those updates that I just provided, I want to characterize them as we are at a point in time within the program. I spoke externally about some of the partnership complications, but we're at a point in time within the program itself where we have a lot of large, complex projects moving through. So it takes some time to put these pieces together to get these projects across the finish line, as well as the financial complications. So it's a very busy period for us. Even though this agenda was light, we still have a heavy workload outside of this meeting to try to get these projects completed. 2 other updates I'll provide you. The first is on our CPP. That was the federal funding award. There's been no change since our last meeting. We're still frozen, still trying to understand if it's going to be unfrozen. There are just rumors circulating right now. I do know that NRCS has had a lot of staff move around recently, so we're getting new people settled into positions. As soon as we get some update on it, I'd be happy to share that with you all. But we are just waiting and trying to learn ourselves what the next step is. And another thing I want to bring to your attention, there should be a calendar that's been distributed with your packets. Mm-hmm. We don't need action on the calendar today, but if you could take that with you, please look at your personal calendars. Let us know if you have conflicts. Email is fine. Just send it directly to staff. Don't send it to the entire committee. Just communicate with us directly. And then we'll look to have these meeting dates approved in October. And that's the end of my updates.
Are there a few items coming up on county council?
Yeah, we have 3 items coming up next week that the committee has put through. The largest is going to be the Riverbend property and a couple smaller ones here. But yeah, we continue to make progress on them.
Fantastic.
Tim, I've got a couple. Nick Dunham, Resource Stewardship Director. Tim mentioned the importance of partnerships, and I wanted to report a small win to the committee. We had applied to the Florida Communities Trust for a grant, and we were notified this week that we were awarded that grant for $247,000 for a partial reimbursement of the Doan acquisition.
Wow.
So that money will be made back available to us for future Volusia Forever purchases. There will be an agenda item created and sent to County Council for approval.
Wonderful.
The next update I'd like to talk about is the Volusia Conservation Corridor expansion. We have packaged up the letters. The letters were mailed out. We sent out a total of 413 letters representing 26,000 acres for the corridor expansion. We're currently awaiting responses as they come in. We have a deadline near the end of September for the responses, and we hope to have some information available for you at the October meeting on the progress we've made on that.
It's great news. Yeah, questions?
I'm sorry, how many acres on the 413 letters?
26,395.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for staff based on those updates? No? All right. Fantastic. You guys are very, very busy, and we appreciate all of the work you do for us. Next, any advisory committee comments? Anyone have anything to discuss? Yep, Susan? Yep.
Coming up, I think it's on the next agenda for the county. If it's not, it's coming. The Chapter 72, which lessens the steps in permitting on various categories of everything from chickens down to industrial and everything in between. That went through PODRC, and then it came to the county, and it's coming back one more time. On item 7 on the last agenda, it said county uses on county-owned land or leased land shall be exempt from the provisions of this chapter. So is that including Volusia Forever lands in Chapter 72?
Sabrina Slack, Assistant County Attorney. Chapter 72 is the zoning provisions and codes. It's about just under 200 pages long. So I really don't know which part you're talking about because the language is going to be throughout there. Chapter 72, obviously it's the county provisions. We are subject to our own ordinances, so I'm not sure which particular part you're talking about because that is a very long section of the ordinances.
Can I email you
Yeah,
and
you
ask this
can.
question?
You can.
I didn't print it's so many
I
pages. I
know.
printed the specific
Yeah.
section.
Yes, email me and I can get with the other assistant county attorneys who are handling that particular section and that particular revision. So I'm not specifically in charge of that area, but I do know enough to be dangerous. That is a very long section of the ordinance, and it does have repetitive sections. So without knowing the context of which section you're referring to, I really can't answer specifically. Sorry, but do email me.
Perfect. All right. Does anyone else have anything to discuss? Yep, Derek?
Yeah, I apologize. There may be a couple questions in here, but they weren't relevant maybe to the other discussion. So, but yeah, I guess my first question is about our lands, and I know this is maybe something I know, but just to clarify for the Volusia Forever lands, some of the uses that it can have on there, because there's been some questions and people have asked me about this recently. So what degree of hunting is allowed on these properties, and would that include, maybe bears, I guess, in the future? And also what degree of use for recreation in terms of motocross and things like that can be used on our land? Just want to see if I can get general, if those are both uses of the Volusia Forever properties.
Yeah, I can answer some of that. Nick Dunham, Resource Stewardship Director. Recreational uses on our property are very specific to the individual property and the management plan that's created for that property. So not every property is going to be conducive to hunting access or off-highway vehicle access. It's going to be very specific to that property. The land management team, when they put land management plans together, are very aware of the recreational uses and the balance that needs to happen to make sure there's no negative impact to the conservation value of the property. As far as hunting, if it's a wildlife management area, that falls under the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission rules and regulations. They are the lead on enforcing that. and our hunting areas would fall under their rules for that.
Okay, thank you. And just a couple other follow-ups to things that were discussed. Yeah, I definitely appreciate comments that several members, I think Mr. Fieser for sure, said about that a lot of development causes other flooding, and that's I think we should definitely take a look at that. So in terms of, I just actually had this general question I could probably ask after. The previous speaker had said there's a new director coming in for, was it for growth or resource management?
Clay's replacement is Ray Tyner from Palm Coast.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't have that information, so I just wanted to clarify if there's any other organization of the staff of what our resource and planning departments are looking like. Is there any then other changes that you're aware of? Or that's
No changes in our department, or the community services. Clay's replacement is growth and resource department. So.
okay. Just double checking and clarifying. Thank you. I did also, I remember you just mentioned one of the parcels that will be, I think the Tomoka parcel will be going before the ARC, which I think is the Acquisition and Resource Council.
Okay.
Yeah.
Acquisition and Restoration Council.
Restoration Council, right. So I had a particular, I guess, question about the function of that council, and maybe if you are going there in October, if you can ask this question. But there was, I had brought up, and we had the Turnbull Bay property on there. There was property that was on the Florida Forever list. I think it was the A list, to be acquired into Door Sleeper Spruce Creek Preserve at one point. And I think in the last year or so, it just kind of disappeared off of that list. And I don't know if there was any kind of public notice or comment period on that, but if there's land that either someone or the state puts on the to be acquired list, I mean, I understand if it's, if they can't buy it because there's not a willing seller, but like it's still like desirable to be purchased due to its environmental benefit. But so like literally in the last year or two, a parcel came off, and particularly it is, I think, where that proposed interchange is going, or potentially going, might not be, we'll see. But it's, yeah, it just kind of disappeared, and I don't know if there's any public comment. So if you can find out a little bit on that when you go, or I don't know if, it doesn't have to be while you're presenting for this other thing, but I'm just curious, or if you know now how that would happen, I'd appreciate any kind of guidance, because the public, if they are anticipating something could eventually be acquired and then it just disappears, it's kind of confusing.
So you will not find a tremendous amount of outreach to adjacent landowners, etc. Obviously, there's communication with the landowner themselves. What you'll also notice if you watch them closely is usually in every December, they take another vote on their recommendation to the governor and cabinet on what should be on that Florida Forever list, and then that goes to the governor and cabinet in I believe it's April time frame of the next year. So my best advice is we probably need to monitor their agendas closely. Those particular properties that you're referring to are something that can be discussed publicly at that time, and obviously the DEP staff is there and can give you direct answers. But there will be an agenda and a list, and it's usually at the end of the year that you'll see their updated recommended list.
Yeah, so I appreciate that. Sounds like, yeah, if you can give guidance on how the public can comment, that's all I'm looking for. And so it sounds like I understand there's schedule, but yeah, if there's not the opportunity. Yeah.
They will receive public comments at these meetings too.
Okay.
So and you can attend in person, or you can also call in if you give them information ahead of time. And it's, I don't want to call it old fashioned, but the old style used to be to write a letter, and they will still accept letters and submit that as part of the package for the consideration.
And their meeting will be in Tallahassee? Is that where you're going?
They do meet in Tallahassee, yes.
Okay. Well, that's good. But as a member of the board, I'm not supposed to just go myself, you're saying? Or
as an individual, I mean, you can't represent this board.
Right. But I might wish to give them my public comment. But I can do the letter too, I suppose. So I think, yeah, that's basically everything I had. I think you guys did a great job presenting today, and I thank you for answering all the questions, and I hope, I hope we acquire more land. So thank you.
All right. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we will adjourn at 10:07. Thank you, everyone.
Transfer 386 was, yeah, but it didn't name her. Okay, I'm. Yeah. I'm David. I don't think I'm very. Welcome to the staff. I'm very tired. Oh, really? Professional volunteer. And I'm also on the agribusiness and relationship committee. Here's the county council. Yeah, so over on the right hand column. Just as Jessica.